YouTube, let's take a trip down memory lane to 100 things that only OG Siege players remember. So if you're an OG Siege player, then leave a like on the video. But if you're a new gen player, then you're gonna want to subscribe because you might want to hear these things. Because at number 1, do you remember old reinforcement speeds? They used to take double the time and only 2 defenders would be able to have it, which meant that if you had a Vigil or a Cav that was stubborn on roaming, they would not come back to site and you would be missing 2 reinforcements and not get the hatch. But that's not as old as number 2, which is the old recoil patterns. Do you guys remember when your ACOG would move around, or maybe your pistol would move differently? But this was way before the TDM meta was introduced, and this was amazing. Like, all guns had low recoil, and the game didn't feel like you were fighting for yourself when the recoil was non-existent back then. And speaking of scopes moving around to number 3, do you remember Bandit and Jaeger ACOG, along with SMG-11 ACOG too? These were fan favorite things back in the day, and oh my god, I have so many good memories on this. But yeah, honestly, we've seen many of this in the anniversary event where we were able to try it again. I don't know if this should be a thing in the current day of Siege with all the balances and all that, because people would just only pick them operators for the ACOG. But it wouldn't be as strong as number 4, which was the OG Blackbeard with 800 HP, and this was insane. You would literally have to use all of your mag on your primary and almost all of your mag on your secondary just to break the shield. Now, this was obviously unintended, but oh my god, I don't know if you remember going up against OG Blackbeard. That man was busted. But it wasn't as annoying as number 5, which was the border radio of "Please do not attempt to board the helicopter." Obviously, you were able to shoot it back in the day, but you would hear that every time you spawn in. You can still hear it now, but I think it fades away really fast. But that was a long time ago, just like number 6, which is the old kill HUD. Do you remember when you would kill someone and you got a massive X on your screen? Although it was super satisfying, it would kind of give that feel of, wow, you just killed someone. But that old elimination feel isn't really back, as this game is kind of more towards a, how do I say this, like an esports shooter where everything is kind of minimal in terms of like design and all that. It feels more of just like minimalistic FPS now. But for number 6, very similar, is 7, which is the old kill cams were in slow-mo. So every time you would die, it would be a slow-mo kill cam of like 1 to 2 seconds, and then it would show you who killed you, like a close-up image. And typically this would actually stop times for refrags. Usually in the replays now, you can see immediately where the enemy runs to, and you can kind of give that call out. But nowadays, if you got shot in the back of the head, you wouldn't even know until you saw the kill cam. At number 8, Echo used to not be called by Dokkaebi. This was pretty good, actually. I don't know if this was because of friendly fire, you know, Asian on Asian hate, but I thought it was a pretty nice change in the day. At number 9, we have the OG pistol recoil. Do you remember shooting a deagle or any kind of pistol back in the day? That thing would be moving in front of your face. It would be harder to kill people back in the day. But I kind of miss it. I kind of wish they bring it back. You know what I don't want them to bring back though? Is number 10, bullet holes. Bullet holes were insanely broken because you could barely see them from a distance, but you can see perfectly through them on defense or on attack. And it would just be very broken and unfair. For number 11, we have old movement. Do you remember when the movement felt more fluid and it just felt less clunky? You would just feel like you're just moving a lot more smooth, and it didn't feel like you were a stick figure, aim in, aim out, lean left, right. It kind of felt like it was just amazing. Just go watch old Siege. It's great. You know what I also miss though is number 12, cooking grenades. I miss cooking nades. I think this was too much of a skill issue, skill cap, but it was broken. If you watch Pro League back in the day, they would be getting naded from below literally every round. Like the first kill would be getting naded from below, and you weren't really able to fight back. But it was pretty decent skill, but at a high level it was just busted. I kind of wish they bring it back though. You know what I don't want to bring back though is number 13, Bandit 3 barbed wire. 3 barbed wire is so random, but maybe because they thought people would use shock wire until they realized that you could just walk around it and just shoot it. So they probably took that away and just made them normal. Number 14, we have old menu screens. Oh my god, I mean, just listen to this right now. I miss loading up, coming home from school and loading up Siege and just seeing the loading screen. I miss that a lot. Definitely brings back nostalgia when I hear the theme song. And at number 15, we have Caveira's 99 pistol damage, which was crazy for downing people. She was so broken back in the day. I do miss playing Cav. Shout out to Serenity for getting me to play Cav a lot back in the day. And remember back in the day as well, for number 16, we have Secure Area Ranked. This would go on for even an hour. If two people sat in a room, they would not move until the other person would come out, until someone has to go eat dinner and then they have to, you know, kill the last person. But I think Secure Area was just too tight in one room. So Bomb obviously allows for more competitive play. You know what was really annoying and competitive? OG Lion. OG Lion basically gave you wall hacks. If you moved, it would show your exact, like it would give you wall hacks. You can see people's outlines where the head was, and you would just wallbang anyone through the floors. And at number 18, Thatcher used to destroy everything. Nowadays, he just disables stuff, which I think makes more sense. But back in the day, when it was just kind of a concept for him, he would destroy everything, which made him super OP because you could be behind cover and just destroy things through walls. At 19, we have Smoke's Shield. Now, this was really strong because he would just be able to hold power points by himself. I think it's better now that he doesn't have it because this requires you to bring more operators into the lineup to work with each other. At 20, do you remember the rematch option back in the day? You were able to rematch teams at the very end if you wanted to do that, but nowadays you don't have that option, and it just feels like you wanted to repeat a really good match. I would love to see this come back. Number 21, we have full operator bodies on the loadout phase. When you pick an operator, there used to be a full, you would see the whole PNG or the image of the operator in the loading screen. At 22, we have Angle Grip being OP. Angle Grip was so good that like people would use it everywhere because it would give you a little bit recoil boost, but also you were able to aim down sights super fast, especially when you're sprinting. And if you want to know exactly what it was, go watch some OG Bolo of him on Zofia or Vigil. That shit was peak. Speaking of Bolo, the Bolo peak was a thing back in the day. You would have to be OG to remember this one because it got removed in like 2 seasons, but it basically was just a super fast lean in, lean out, but that was with the old movement. And obviously now Siege, they nerfed any kind of quick peek that you can do. You know what was an annoying peak? At 24, we have drop shotting. Drop shotting is, oh man, it was pretty good back in the day because you were able to still aim down sights, but you obviously can't do that anymore because you get on ADS when you're prone. Next is Maestro and Jackal hip fire. That shit was tight. Like I'm talking about, you could just hip fire across the room and be almost as accurate as you were aiming in, but it was really fun. You were just playing CSGO at that point, and it was really broken back in the day. Speaking of broken bugs, I mean, think about Raptor legs. Raptor legs was basically when an operator kill cam, their legs would be like inverted, but I do miss this. I also do miss situations at 27. Situations was when you would play certain operators through on certain maps and you would have to play a certain objective. I think it'd be really cool if we could see this with new operator. Every time a new operator comes out, a new situation for them comes out. I feel like that would help players learn the operator more rather than just going up against AI and all that kind of stuff. And at number 28, we have Clubhouse used to have a ladder in the garage. Do you remember that? Old T-Hunt bombers. Do you remember the sound? Just Joey, play the sound. Oh man, I truly missed that. And it felt really nice to get headshots in those, especially in the bomb T-Hunt mode. I feel like I would get more warm up and they would have more realistic movement than a stationary bot. OG Ella recoil was a beam. That shit had no recoil. And it was basically using the SMG-12 if it had 40 bullets in it, if it had console recoil too, which was crazy. If you don't believe how good Ella recoil was and it looks kind of normal nowadays, go watch Bolo back in the day. That thing was not moving. Another broken gun was Frost's shotgun. And you might be thinking, what's so good about her shotgun? I never see people use it. Well, back in the day, the range was really broken on it and you would be able to literally kill people like almost across the map if you aim down sights. But it's not as broken as when Goyo had 3 shields on release. Yes, his canisters used to be attached behind a deployable shield. And having 3 deployable shields, I think you guys can understand how strong that can be, especially when Jaeger and Wamai were peak in their prime back in the day. But back in the day, do you remember remember people quitting an interrogation. If you were to get interrogated by Cav, you could leave the game fast enough. If you got down the button mapping of rage quitting, you can actually avoid interrogation by just leaving the match. But nowadays, they fixed that and you can't do that anymore. But do you guys remember when Twitch had 10 damage in the prep phase? Yes, her drone used to do 10 damage to players. So if someone was AFK, you had like 12 stuns, I think, and you could just literally down someone and kill them in the prep phase if they were AFK, which was insane. I definitely got a few kills of those myself, but definitely a good memory. Melusi was broken on release. She had a C4 bulletproof gadgets, like they wouldn't even open up to be to be shot. They had to be cleared by grenades, and she also had the T5, which is Elysian's gun, and she was a 3-speed. I think you guys can imagine how strong that would be on release, especially back in the day. But another thing back in the day was the lighting. The lighting was crazy. If you look outside, it looked like you were looking into the sunshine. You would get blinded when you look outside because the lighting was just so, the contrast was insane. But I definitely do miss it a little bit. I feel like it kind of brought a less like washed out look to the game, but I like it how it is now. But you know what we don't really need though is Ayana OG pose, where she's showing off a little bit of her cheeks in the MVP pose, and some people took a little bit too many screenshots of that, so they removed it. Speaking of removing, do you remember vote to kick? Vote to kick was like when you ran a recruit 5-man rush, but then the random goes a different operator, so you all just vote to kick him. And yeah, as long as you had a 4 majority, dude, if you solo queued, you're basically playing Russian roulette back to the menu. Smoke, Caviera, and Frost used to have C4s. OG Buck recoil used to be the top recoil back in the day. It just moved a lot, especially with the old scopes, but now Buck obviously doesn't have the most recoil, but back in the day, that shit was just visually moving. It was kind of satisfying though. Cafe used to have fall damage when you would vault over the pillar. Capkin used to have only 3 traps, but they all one-shot at people, which was kind of crazy. I actually kind of preferred this more than the 5 Capkin traps. IQ used to be like Warden, where it would be a large blue screen. It was almost like thermal. It would look like a mix of a pulse and a Warden scanner. Doc stims used to be 40 HP. It would be very hard to get a person to full HP without using all of your stims, but nowadays you can just get them a full HP with 1 stim. And if you were to self-revive yourself, I believe it was like 80, or you'd be revived to 120. I'm not sure if I remember that, but someone can correct me on that. Bank used to have annoying bars in the locker, and you would always shoot someone behind the locker and magically they would just not die because that was super annoying. The SAS used to be immune to smokes canisters because they would have actual gas mask, mute, and smoke. Even Thatcher, but I don't think it makes that much sense for Sledge if it's more of a dust mask, but I think it'd be pretty weird if attackers were immune to his smoke, but you know, cool little neat thing for like some lore. Do you remember when dead bodies were a thing? Dead bodies would lie on the floor when you would kill someone, and sometimes people would hide in them, making them really annoying and kind of just debris on the map. You're definitely OG if you've done an MA recruit rush at least once with your squad. Glass used to have literal wall hacks. When you would aim down your sights, you would have instant thermal. You wouldn't have to worry about anything else. The old rank badges looked a lot more different than they were nowadays, and also the order was reversed. You would used to go up from gold 1 to 2 to 3. Coming at number 51, do you remember when you had to throw nades back? On defense, you used to have this option where you can throw grenades back in time, and I think this is actually like a kind of a good interactive feel between the attackers and defenders, or maybe even if you're just throw it on the floor and you're an attacker. I'm not sure why they took this out of the game. I feel like this would be really nice. Do you remember when your teammate would tell you to, hey, yo, give me a reset. Can you reset me? Basically what this means is they wanted you to shoot them in the leg because you would take less damage with a pistol to the foot and you would instantly get downed, almost like if they had rook armor on. But this would be to like reset yourself to like, I think 30 HP or like 50 HP. Someone can remember that, but that used to be a thing, like a, you know, a personal doc stim. Man, I miss OG Barley University. I had a lot of good intense rank games on that, like mainly secure area. But yeah, that was definitely an OG map when Siege was on the come up. Nowadays, people know that as Emerald Plains because that was a secret rework. But it's actually, you know, that's the only thing we're going to get to remember about Barlet. Now, this is very rare, but a rank game used to go 1st to 7. Now, this would be if you were on 4-4 overtime match point and you guys drawed. If you guys traded on that, it would then put you into, was it 3 more overtime rounds. So whoever got to 7 first would win. Coming at number 55, do you remember when you would get points for scanning people? You could literally farm your way to the top of the scoreboard just by spamming red ping. So, you know, you would have teammates and your friends be like, oh, I carried you on the scoreboard. Can't hear you all the way down there. And they got like 2 kills with like 3,000 points just from you know, scanning defenders. Do you remember Zofia Withstand? Now, this was very controversial that it was kind of broken and that, you know, people shouldn't be able to revive herself like that. But I think it was pretty neat change, and it kind of made operators kind of more unique back in the day. But we already have that for Rook Armor now. But I think it would be kind of nice if they added her Withstand back. It kind of makes operators kind of just a little bit more badass. Back in the day, you could do a shield ADS spam. You wouldn't even put your shield down. Like if you just spammed like to look down, you could get like 100% accuracy in the middle. So you could just spam this while having your shield in your face. And that was really broken, especially with Monty's revolver. And speaking of shields, you used to be able to hip fire with shields. Now, this is kind of more of a recent change, like more like a few years ago. But hip fire shields definitely it was definitely not fun to die to a hip fire. Thermite and Buck used to have frag grenades. Getting stunned by Echo made you look like you just took 10 Jägermeister shots deep. They were also invisible with no sound, making him the most banned defender in the game back in the day. But yeah, your screen would like go just absolutely like sideways, up and down, move. It was just almost impossible to move your character. The old run out time used to almost be 5 seconds and then like 3 seconds. So you could go out and do some crazy spawn peaks like on Cafe and just mow 2 people down before you get back inside. Even nowadays, 1 second still feels like it's a little fast, but imagine back in the day, 3, that was crazy. And your screen will also turn yellow as well. Hibana and Twitch used to have old portraits like these ones. Do you remember the old disable animation? This is when you would hit it with the back of your stock or your gun instead of using some sort of weird device that I don't know where operators get that. Maybe just fucking pull that out of their pocket. Just like how they pull out 2 tons of metal for reinforcing in their pocket. They just have it. But yeah, running used to look different back in the day. Like it would kind of look like, you know, kind of that, you know how Goofy, like Warden has that goofy sprint, but this one looks like they would have their gun forward and kind of more of a Call of Duty sprint. Operators used to have birthday challenges for like a skin in the shop or in the Uplay, but they don't have this anymore. Nomad air jabs used to be instant. So this means you could literally just shoot it faster than a flashbang and it would just knock them down immediately. This was mainly on a test server, but obviously now they gave it more like, was it 2 seconds for it to activate? I definitely don't miss this one, but do you remember when you were able to steal kills? So if someone downed someone and you finished them off, it would count as your kill. And you would always hear that term, why'd you steal my kill? But you don't hear that anymore. Speaking of stealing kills, do you remember when you could injure people for points? You would get 50 plus for an injure. If you downed someone back in the day, you would get points for it. But now you just have to hear for like a down sound where they hit the floor. And you kind of have to guess it with a sound cue. I know Coconut Bra misses this one, but do you remember when you could put Valkyrie cams outside? They would have no going offline or like losing signal. They would just be outside. So on Cafe and large maps, you can just chuck them outside and get an insane amount of intel. And again, spam red pings. Get yourself to the top of the scoreboard. Back in the day, old operators would get cinematics and trailers. If you look up Rainbow Six operator trailer, instead of like kind of a anime trailer, which you get nowadays, we actually used to get like cinematic, good music, and kind of more of a narration and introduction to the operator. And I think they're still okay now, but I definitely do miss it when they used to have more of a serious look to them. Coming at number 71, the Tachanka's LMG used to be a turret. It went from being a turret, then they added a shield, and then they made it so he could walk around with a turret, but that wasn't good enough. And then they gave him a fire launcher, which was crazy. That's him now, but he's been through like 3 reworks, which is crazy. On Chalet, there used to be a window in the kitchen, and you could just head glitch this and hold flank all the way to the kitchen double door to main lobby. You could hold this with Blackbeard, and it would be the most broken thing ever. Castle used to be able to do an FPS glitch where you would basically pretend to place a gadget down, cancel it, place a gadget down, and it would turn the whole lobby into like 30 FPS. Back in the day, there was no reverse friendly fire, so you could literally down your entire team as Cav and then leave the game. Don't ask me why I know that. It's not like I did that back in the day. Anyways, but yeah, you could literally just C4 as many teammates as you want, and the only way that reverse friendly fire would work is if someone put you down. But when Dokkaebi was released, the phone would call you forever until you answered it. This was OP and there was no time limit to it. Siege's old trailer is insanely different to the one that we know today for like, you know, what is it? The Harry on Stadium and all that kind of stuff. But back in the day, they were coming down from helicopters. The droning was more intense and it really felt like you were doing an extract multiplayer mission rather than some sort of, you know, quirky Olympic. Do you remember when the F2 had no recoil and it was so broken? I feel like it's so popular that even people to this day use it because maybe they took a break from the game. They think they're using the old F2 recoil, and oh my god, like if you watch Serenity, Bolo back in the day, that thing was nutty. And I think Godly is an old Siege YouTuber, and he was crazy with the recoil. Some people thought he was macroing. Speaking of crazy clips, Kickstar had an Ash Ace on plane that I feel like everyone saw in the back in the day. Definitely RIP Kicks. He was a big inspiration in my life for Siege content. And yeah, you will always remember you. At number 79, we have the Tachanka, the 3-speed glitch. Basically, if you would get on and off the turret a few times, it would make you a 3-speed, which I don't really know why it would do that, but yeah, it just did. Clash was removed for so many bugs, like the invincible shield, where on other people's screen, it like your gun was down, but like you weren't able to shoot her. You were able to shoot Lion's drone. Yes, it had a certain amount of HP, which I don't know why it did, but it just did back in the day. Maybe it was just kind of put in there, and then they didn't think anyone, the attackers were going to shoot down their own drone. But at 82, we used to get 2 new operators every season, and sometimes even a new map. Nowadays, we get 1 rework of operator we've already had, but they're kind of working on that. I think in the new season, we're actually getting a new operator and a new map. But I feel like nowadays getting 2 each season is too much. I feel like 1 new operator a season is okay, or at least 1 new map if it's not an operator. But we need new stuff. We cannot get any more reworks. I feel like it just dries us out for the season. But do you also remember the season pass used to be yearly? This would have perks on having, you know, extra 10% off on everything you buy in the shop. You'll get access to the new operators every season. But now it kind of feels like a lot of the new stuff is kind of behind a subscription paywall of the battle pass. But I feel like that's what everything is in the world is now. Everything is a subscription. It's so modern and just rinsing people for their money. But business is business. I definitely remember this one, which was you would lose 150 elo if you lost to people who were way lower than you, mainly for champions, and you would get 3 elo if you were a high rank and beat anyone because you're top of the rank. And I remember beating some people and we got 150 elo. We beat like the top 10 champs back in the day, and it was like the most satisfying match. I think I still have a video on it. Capital Fire used to be way more bright than it used to be. It would dim the whole room. It would kind of give it more of that fire vibe. Now it's kind of just like some flames on the floor, and the smoke actually used to be blue, which would kind of make it more distinct on being Capital. There used to be a damage log in the kill cams, and you can see exactly how much damage you did to someone with whichever weapon. The LMG meta, now this was a little bit like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but LMGs used to have, well, they did have no recoil because no one really used it, and they would have no reason to nerf them. They were on entry operators, and it was just bullets after bullets every round. I'd say this was probably the main start of the TDM meta, where people realized that they can just rely on just letting their guns sing and how much impact frags can be rather than trying to plant the bomb. Back in the day of ranked, there were no operator bans or map bans. I personally think operator bans and map bans kind of made players comfortable and not want to learn new maps, which is a big issue nowadays because we have maps like Lair and Nighthaven, which are actually really good competitive maps, even Fortress, but people just refuse to learn because they're like, I don't play good on the map after my first 3 or 4 times playing it. It's ass. Back in the day, if you got the map, you were stuck playing it and you had to get good on it. The old cafe used to have a bomb site in Bakery. This is before the rework, but the site would be, I think, small bake. It was just one big bakery before they split it into 2. Smoke gas used to be able to clip walls. So if you smoked something from the other side, you would actually take damage from it. Just like this very famous clip of some guy smoking his teammates into a room on plane.
Oh, what the hell? I can't get out. No. No, what are you doing? Oh, David, bro, get off. Ow, let's go. You asshole. Get the hell out. Get out. Oh, no.
Yeah, that clip is legendary, but it's not as legendary as when Legion mines used to be invisible. I miss this. Legion misses invisible goo mines, but it was kind of broken, kind of similar to how Echo had invisible drones. I think just invisibility in general kind of makes it more superior to other gadgets, I think it's fine without it. Russian operators were only able to use their own sights. This would be like the Russian reflex and also the Russian hollow, I believe, and also the ACOG. So if you were to play the Tachanka or Capkin, you were stuck with the Russian reflex. But it wasn't as annoying as the hatch fall glitch, where you would just infinitely drop a hatch and there's nothing you could do about it. And you would know someone is in the hatch glitch when you hear someone drop multiple times and they can't do anything about it. The SMG-12 on release used to not have a suppressor and it would sound like a drill gun. Hatches used to be massive, about 3 times the size of a normal hatch. You used to be able to get under a bank desk in the main lobby and you would get under the map and be able to shoot people from there, and it was insanely broken. At number 97, we have purple tarps. Now this was a battle between Coconut Bra and Ubisoft, that there would just always be ways to get on the purple tarps to look in the hookah window. It was absolutely legendary. Although it wasn't the most effective strat, it was definitely pretty cool. I don't know how Coconut Bra would literally find purple tarps like after 4 patches. That's what I call dedication. Next was Doctor's Cursed Bathroom Incident. Now you would think that, oh, it's a new mode, everyone's just having fun, but a lot of people would actually ruin the fun for people by just camping in one bathroom that was on the map, and you would just use all of your abilities to stall it out, and it would be really hard to win. It was almost like a free defense round. Back in the day, you were actually able to see enemy names and outlines. Now, if you like looked at an enemy, you could see their gamer tag and they would like glow in red. But nowadays, we kind of have more of like based on team colors. And coming at number 100 is something that you guys all know yourself, and that is your memories of Siege. All the late night, 3 a.m. rank stack with the boys, hiding spots, endless labs that you can barely breathe with your friends, and fun custom games, and maybe even just watching how good the game used to be before it was turned into like this tactical, you know, esports shooter. But that's the thing I miss the most, is my memories. Maybe even before I started making early content in this game, I would just love to make Siege videos when I get home. I'd even get bullied at school for making Siege videos and sweating in ranked or sweating in Siege because I didn't want to play Bed Wars for the 500th time on casual, and I wanted to play ranked. And really, I think Siege has come a long way. But let me know in the comments below your guys' favorite memory about this game or something you missed the most, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.